CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 3, Part 14, Audio by Renee Matthew. The flourishing of Florence and Venice were also seen. The difference between the ruling style of both France and England was clearly seen in these chapters, in these sessions also. Now we need to look at the vibrant cities like Venice. There was another city which was as vibrant as Venice, and that was Genoa. They were totally different from other parts of Europe, and the clergy, the priests, they were not politically dominant there. They did not have much power, nor the feudal lords had much power. Both of them were powerless. Okay, and there were rich merchants and bankers who actively participated in governing the city. Other people did not have such active participation, but these people, it is like you should understand that with the emergence of bankers and merchants only, the power of the feudal lords and clergy came into question, because they started growing and they did not have any other kind of they did not have any other provision. They had to depend on these merchants and bankers. Did you understand? Okay. So now, when the merchants and the bankers grew, when they progressed, this helped to shape the idea of citizenship. Okay. And people understood what it meant to be a citizen in a particular place, and also it took its shape from the root, the idea of citizenship. And these towns were ruled by military despots. Most of the military despots ruled these towns. The pride felt by the townspeople did not weaken. We saw that the feeling that the townspeople exchanged was really high. They understood the meaning of being townspeople. They understood that commerce, trade, and even the status of the life, the welfare of the life also changed in every aspect when they started becoming townspeople, and that is why they had that attitude. So now, even amongst the townspeople, the idea of citizenship did not weaken. They understood the meaning of the privileges. They understood that certain rights and privileges will definitely be granted to townspeople. Okay, so they were really working towards it. Alright? Now we have got these 3 slides which talks about Cardinal Gasparo Contarini. He is a person who wrote about the democratic government of his city-state, and that work is known as the Commonwealth and Government of Venice. He talks about the normal people, the plight which the normal people, the common people faced. Especially in the Venetian Commonwealth, the complete authority was taken by the city. It was a time where the city controlled, and in the council which actually ensued, the council which was there in the government of Venice, most of the gentlemen of the city who were past the age of 25 years were admitted. That is, the active participants in this council, all the men who were a part of the council were about 25 years of age, and they always passed this criteria of being a gentleman. And you know what is the meaning of a gentleman? Of course, it is the wealth. So now Cardinal Gasparo tells that there was a kind of knowledge, there was a kind of notion, not a knowledge, but notion, which the ancestors always said that the common people should not be admitted into the company of citizens. Common people should be completely excluded. You know why? Because when power is given to the common people, there will be troubles. There will be popular tumults, that is, popular uprisals will be there in the cities, because they will react. You know why? Because the common people are always faced with maximum number of problems. That is, when you go down in the hierarchy of the society, the common people are facing more problems. So they will only come up with tumults and uprisals, and then we don't have time to look into all those things. So the question is, if you give justice to everybody equally, why should there be even a space for tumult? Okay, so the government was swayed by the common people. The government was disturbed by the common people, so you should exclude them because they will only bring in tumults and strifes. That was the argument. And many people were of the contrary opinion that the government of Commonwealth should be guided only by the able and the abundance of riches. Only rich people should be a part of it and not the common people. The honest citizens of a place should be completely excluded because they were always below poverty. They never understood anything. So the wise and prudent ancestors, shrewd ancestors. Okay, prudent is a kind of word which gives an insight into the meaning of a human capacity, where it says that the person is very shrewd, not intelligent, in a very bad way, negative way. And they kept a rule telling that people who were part of the public life, especially the common people, should not be part of the nobility of lineage. And only the nobles should be a part of the council, not the common people. So estimation of wealth was very important. Yet, with that temperature, the men of chief and supreme nobility should not have this rule alone. For that would rather have been the power of a few than a commonwealth. So they also said that their power should not be vested only in the people who were nobles, only in the people who were of high stature, because then again there will be the same problem that France faced. What is it? Most of the power will be vested in the nobles. But it should be part of every other citizen, but who are ignobly born, that is noble birth, noble by birth or ennobled by virtue, obtain this right of government. So there's a kind of debate which is going on who should be given the right to rule this particular council, whether it should be the nobles or whether it should be the citizens. So this particular source by Cardinal Gasparo, it says that common people should be actually kept away from all these things, which is not right, which is not correct. So public rule only should be for nobility. So there was an argument, and this is the other argument, that because they have got stature of wealth, because they have got that status, only they should be included in it. Alright, so this is one particular source that you have to read and understand. It gives you an idea on how the culture and society of those days were, what was expected. Now the most important part of the session is the universities and humanism. Humanism is giving ideas, giving importance to art, architecture and arts, liberal arts. Arts, architecture, liberal arts, history, all these kind of things. Till then people were more inclined to science, reasoning, logical skills. Here they told we have to combine reason and art. When you have to study human being, you have to understand the meaning of humanism. That was the argument. And how it paved the way for bigger universities in the world. That is what we are going to see. The earliest universities in Europe had been set up in Italian towns. It is because of the architecture. And the two main universities, the earliest universities, were Padua and Bologna. They were the centers of legal studies from the 11th century. Very important places, very important centers of learning. Of course, commerce was the chief activity in the city. There was a great demand for lawyers and notaries, a combination of solicitor and record keeper. People wanted experts who could deal with law. And you know that most of the time they started hiring people who were skilled in bank, in rule, in law and all these things. So bankers and lawyers actually grow much in stature. And they wanted people to write and read and interpret rules, especially which was written in written agreements. Because everybody was not able to read the agreements which were written. Understood? All the agreements which were written, everybody could not read. Everybody was not literate. And without which trade on a large scale was not possible. So if you have to have this high scale trading, high scale commerce, then they wanted the people who can interpret rules and write agreements to be a part of this commerce. So lawyers and bankers will have to eventually be a part of this whole circle. Otherwise, the common traders and merchants will not be able to understand what was written on these agreements and laws. These are the two universities. One is Padua and one is Bologna. Okay, it is given there. Law was also a popular subject of study. Everybody started studying law so that they will get an access to, see, when people get access to law, they will understand the rights that a person have to enjoy in a particular place. They will get an access to all the rights that they have in a particular place, because many of them are unaware of it. They're ignorant of it and they don't want to study about it. But when people started studying law, they understood the importance of citizenship also. It was studied in the context of earlier Roman culture, because Romans and Greeks were great examples to them, like not only in terms of architecture and learning, but also these two empires fell down because of their ignorance. A lot of ignorance was there. So it was an example to the world to understand how politically and economically they fell down. So the same mistake need not be repeated by the Europeans. That was the idea. So in the context of early Roman culture, they started looking into the problems that they faced so that the same mistakes will not be committed by the Europeans. Do you know who this person is? A famous person? Francisco Petrarch. He actually proved his skills, especially in literature, in writing. He represented this change. To Petrarch, antiquity was a distinctive civilization, which could be best understood through the actual works of the ancient Greeks and Romans. So this particular writer and thinker said that if you have to study what happened in the past, if you were to study what happened in the past, the best examples were Greeks and Romans. When you study something which happened in the past, it is a kind of exposure that you get to the civilization. When you study history, you get a lot of exposure to humaneness. You understand what happened in the past and you will not make the same mistake in the future. So he said the best study of antiquity, it was a kind of exposure to distinctive civilization. And those were the actual works and words of the ancient Greeks and Romans. So he encouraged everybody to read the Greek and Roman works and words and also look into their lives. He stressed the importance of a close reading of ancient authors, because whatever they wrote need not be true, but it gave a different perspective to understand the world from a different angle. The problem with people even now is that they always see everything from the same angle. When you start seeing life from different angles, innovations come up. When you think in a different way, when you're ready for a change, things will change and you will also develop eventually. Understood? The educational program which was followed by Francisco Petrarch was very important. And it also implied that not only education had to be focused, but little bit of religious teaching also should be done. But he also insisted that people were so much into religious teaching because the churches and the bishops and clergy, they were forcing the people to do only things in the wrong way. It is not that the Christian religion is wrong. It is not like that. But the way they propagated it is wrong. It was only a propagation and advertisement for the religion. It was not taken in the right sense. So he said that only with religious teaching a man cannot grow. It has to be both hand in hand. This was the culture with the historians in the 19th century evolved themselves into a concept known as humanism. This particular culture where people started studying about the past intensely got developed because people understood the meaning of being humane, going into the past, going into the works of the people. All these things they started understanding, and that paved the way for humanism. By 15th century, something happened. The term humanist, okay, humanism is the concept, and you have all these terms which are derived from humanism. Humanist was actually used for taking masters in grammar, rhetoric, poetry, history, and moral philosophy. Even now we have got this branch, you all are doing that, okay, humanities, the stream of studies. So you have to be thankful to the thinkers and historians of 19th century who gave an intense study and research on this particular branch, and they discovered this branch, which led to greater research. It had more scope. Even now it is having a lot of scope. The only problem is people, as I told you, people think only in one way. Okay, but when you start thinking in a different way, of course, humanism is very important, and that is something which is deteriorating from the present human beings. And because of that, we are facing a lot of problems. Technology alone cannot define a human life. We are created as humans. We are not created as animals. We are different from animals. Animals are doing their job. They are actually living their life. We are created as humans, and that is why we are known as human beings, where little bit of humanism should be there. Once humanism gets obliterated from the characteristic of a human being, we can no longer be called a human being. We have to be called what? Machines. So that is the difference between human beings and machines. Okay, where humanism should not actually go away. But as the world progressed, we can see that there was a time when people just did away with humanism. They did not give much importance to it, and then the problem started. There has to be a balance in life where you balance all the spheres of study. When you give importance to only one, it leads to a great tragic loss in so many things, and that is what happened in the history also. So Petrarch was telling that we should study from the mistakes of the past. We should look into the works of antiquity. We should look into the civilization of the ancient people. And then we should understand what is expected of a human being to be successful, how you can be better, not completely successful, but better in the upcoming years.